KZLP Houston, home of Cheryl Underwood Radio. We are your do good through good station. The new amazing 102.5 FM.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to ORALE Houston here on the new amazing 102.5 FM.
Yes.
Wednesday,
Buenos dias.
January 13th. We have a very special guest in the studio. Before we even get to anything else, we want to welcome Chief Art Acevedo, the Houston Police Department, into the studio here at ORALE Houston.
Orale.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome.
Woo! Beep, beep, beep,
Oh,
beep,
Lord.
beep. Chief Acevedo.
I feel like I'm back in East LA, man. I love it.
Hey, man, a little bit.
Where the tacos, though?
I'm from Linwood.
For
So,
real.
we got the LA vibe going
Are you from
on.
Linwood?
I'm from Linwood.
Right. Oh, Lord.
Straight out Linwood. So,
Linwood, man, that's right there in Compton.
We got
Right
that.
nearby.
Oh yeah, we got the connection going on this
Yeah, we
morning
do.
here in the
Yes, we
studio. Chief, one more time, thank you so much for joining
you.
us here in the studio. I don't know if you're familiar with ORALE Houston at all, or maybe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, what we got going on here, we're a representation of Houston, as you can see. A black-owned station, mostly Latino show. We're here in service of the Bread of Life Foundation and our
Love it.
weekly drive-through food distribution that we do each and every
I
Wednesday.
saw it every night. People
yeah.
out there at now, and then sadly, there's more need today than ever.
You're not kidding, Chief. You're not kidding. So we're glad to be here in service of the community, and not only that, we're also here to entertain, give people a good time, give people the news, and have
Awesome.
guests such as yourself to reach out to the community, let us know what's going on.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. Happy New Year. And what I love about this city is that I love to say that Houston's the city of tomorrow.
That's right.
Houston's what America is going to look like in the next 5, 10, 15 years. You can't change it.
That's right.
We're a minority majority city, a melting pot of a city, and what I love about our city, everybody gets along, man. I mean, by and large, we look at our protests this summer. It wasn't perfect. Our response wasn't perfect. We had some knuckleheads,
For sure.
but we were the envy of the country. I had police chiefs calling me, "How'd you all keep it so peaceful?" I go, "We got a great community, and they're served by a pretty darn good police department."
Oh,
so,
yeah,
That's
100%.
a lot of blessings.
Most
And I appreciate you bringing up everything that happened with the protests just to start off the show. And the response that Houston did receive was kind of for me it was eye-opening, because every other city it seemed like had a major event going on, and just with everything that was happening with the protests, it seems like Houston was really at the forefront of how to do it correctly. So what do you attribute to that?
Well, I think that the police and the community, first of all, the police is the community is the police. I mean, we don't grow our cops on Petri dishes. When we were out there, I attribute it to a couple of things. Number one, do we have knuckle draggers in our department? Absolutely. I mean, just like any organization, whether any movement, any group, there's good and bad and everything.
That's true.
I think the difference is that most reasonable people know that our department, we don't mess around, man. I call that small percentage the children of the corn, right? They hate the world, they hate their families, they hate their cats. When they rear their ugly heads, we cut it off. We send them on their way. And I'm not going to apologize for that, because most of the officers are good. I mean, the problem with police, and I always say it's not the cops. Most of the cops are decent people. It's police chiefs that tolerate mediocrity, and we don't have use for that. The other thing is about our city is that we're a homegrown department. There are a lot of local homeboys and homegirls that serve in our department. And we look like the city we serve, all right? We're a minority majority department, serving a minority majority city. Matter of fact, when we were in those protests, marching and, participating and keeping people safe, and it got heated sometimes, I can't tell you how many of my officers I would find with their families actually marching in the protest, right?
that's
Because what some people don't understand, the protests weren't about being anti-police. They were about being anti-bad policing, which is good for good cops, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that, look, man, we had 70 broken windows in our city, about 7 to 10, I think, police cars that were vandalized. One police car, when it all got really ugly downtown, it really made me angry. I saw the video. There was a white guy with a skateboard that started it. And then some people were beating me up because I talked about the white guy with the skateboard. What, do you want me to call him purple? I mean, it's factual.
True.
And we found this guy. I told my team, I don't like agitators because they hijack legitimate causes.
True, yes.
And then everybody forgets what they were out there for, and all they're going to focus on is on the violence. And they know what they're doing. So I ordered my people, find that guy. Our investigators found him, charged him, arrested him. And he ended up he had Black Lives Matter tattooed. That's not what Black Lives Matter is about, man. It's not about destruction. It's about constructive protest and engagement to make to demand better policing. And that guy ends up admitting he goes up to Canada just to stir it up.
Man,
we ain't going to put up with that. Hey, I always say, do not confuse kindness for weakness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because we will march. We'll let people protest no matter whether it's the extreme right. You know, sometimes the people, the Confederate flags come out. That's their right. If they want to march, they get to march. But we're not going to tolerate.
Yeah, that is something that I can say that I really do appreciate about you, that you are just very outspoken and you say what's on your mind and you say what you think, but that's really good.
Yeah,
it's like we
thanks,
want to
man.
see that that our leaders are there for us. They're not just, you're not just politicking out there. So
Yeah,
I
the
really do
accountability.
appreciate that.
Yeah, but people always accuse me of being a politician.
But especially in the light of what's happening at Capitol Hill right now.
I mean, come on, man. Come on. I mean, my heart, if your heart wasn't broken to see what we saw a week ago today, and I'll be honest, let's be real clear. How do you, if you know that you've got the president and others calling to fight, calling people to come there, calling for people to take back, the only way you take back a lost election is through engaging in the next election and actually voting.
building that coalition.
Exactly. And this was all, this was not a surprise.
No,
And I
not
felt
at all.
so bad for them because, the critics want to just focus on some of the cops that were not doing the right thing. There were some cops there that did not do the right thing, and some that were off duty. And let me tell you, if I find one of my cops was there, I promise you they will be dealt with. Because can they go to a protest? Yes. Can they go and invade our Capitol? Absolutely not.
Indeed.
But the majority of those cops, I felt so bad for them because, man, they got their heads handed to them.
Yeah.
And let's be clear. Bias, whether it's implicit, explicit, conscious or unconscious, has consequences. And I think that the leadership, the federal leadership, from the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, Capitol Police, and all of those, Department of Defense, how did they not know that was going to happen? They probably saw, this is a conservative group. Heck, they've got the blue lives, the thin blue line flags. They're pro-police. BS. They use those flags to beat on police officers. Had that been a Black Lives Matter event, knowing how many people were coming, we would have seen tens of thousands of cops.
They would have got
Absolutely,
anywhere
I
near the
agree.
Capitol.
No, they wouldn't have.
It
I
would have been
promise.
bloodshed a lot worse than what we saw, and that's just, facts at this point.
Yeah, it
and
is.
it's unfortunate.
This is ORALE Houston here on the new Amazing 102.5. We have Chief Art Acevedo here in the building. We want to thank you again for coming in. Now, I want to mention, immediately after that happened,
But that Niner,
that Niners, man.
I mean, you
We're gonna
guys,
stay on you, Wade.
We're gonna have to ask him to leave
it's
the
like
room.
Orale gives and takes. You got a mic, we can hear it. Gives and takes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we only got the chief here for a little bit. Let's not get,
All right,
let's not get him.
We can say I just got to be out here by 9:45 or 10:45.
That's cool, Chief. We appreciate the
yeah.
time. But I also want to mention, immediately after all that stuff happened in the Capitol, you and the major chiefs put out a joint statement basically condemning everything that happened
Absolutely.
and laying blame where I think exactly where it needed to go. People like Ted Cruz, people like Josh
well,
Hawley.
Yes. Yes.
Like you just mentioned, none of us were surprised that it happened.
Nope.
And I feel like, especially those with a little bit of color in our skin, we're a little. How can we say it? It's like a sense of saying "I told you so" almost, right?
Right.
And I feel like it put a bow on what's been happening in the White House for the last 4 years. Now, I guess the question is this: you have the spotlight on you, for better or worse, and you have a platform, a mandate. What can we expect you to be looking for office in the future?
Oh God, don't start with that.
2022. Let's say Greg Abbott is up for election.
No, man. Look, let's be honest. Look, the problem with the problem with America is a failure of leadership. I don't care if it's
100%.
policing.
I agree.
I don't care if it's politicians. I don't care if it's corporate America. Let's be real. Take a hard look at major city police departments. Our leadership cadre is more diverse. There are more women. Now go to corporate America. Go to the newsrooms across the country. Go to all these critics and compare and contrast. In a lot of ways, we are ahead of society. But when we do have the knuckle draggers, it's not in the dark anymore. And so people just see, and let's face it, if it bleeds, it leads, what the media says.
That's 100%.
They're not going to put the good stuff on there, just the bad stuff. it's a time where I couldn't get elected for dog catcher. I mean, I'm too far to the left for the right, too far to the right for the left, because life's about give and take, man. It's not about all or nothing, right?
That's true.
And it's like the defund the police movement. I said, you know what? And I told this to people. You start talking about defund the police. You go down there to the highest crime neighborhoods in this city. There are disproportionate communities of color that are impacted by the violence, and you tell them you want to defund the police, you know what they're going to tell you? Get on out of here. Now, if you tell them you're going to push for better policing, accountability, for investments, this proposition that we got to have less policing to be able to afford social services programs, education programs, that's baloney. When COVID hit, the Congress printed $1 trillion overnight.
Yeah.
Imagine if they printed $1 trillion to educate for pre-K education for young people and poor people, after-school programs, summer programs, jobs training programs. It's not one. It's not either or. It's both. Our communities deserve both. And let me just say this last thing, because I think this is kind of probably ORALE Houston is probably a little progressive.
Let's do it.
Let's start talking about poor white people. There are a lot of poor white people in this country.
Speak on
and they're like, hey, why are these poor white people? Why are these white people so angry? Nobody talks about them.
Indeed.
That's
If
true.
you don't think there's a lot of poor white people, go on out. We'll go on a little field trip. There's a lot of poor.
True.
But they don't have to deal with just poorness and racism on top of that. That's what
True.
separates poor people of color from poor white people. But Democrats are talking about poor white people.
Man, Chief
in
Acevedo,
trouble.
you bring up a great point. We hope to expand on that a little bit more here in the next segment. We got a treat for you. DJ Ivy, apart from being a co-host, actually spins in between sets.
Right on.
We hope you appreciate this. This is just for you, Chief. DJ Ivy, take it away. We'll be right back. This is ORALE Houston on the new amazing 102.5 FM. Keep it locked.